Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Plaistow's Board of Selectmen meeting for August 24th, 2020. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30. And Beth, may we have a roll call, please?
Select Chair, Ms. Hart.
Here.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Talion.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Kishka.
I believe I hear him. Can you skip to the other two selectmen, and
Sure.
hopefully he will come up here?
Selectman, Mr. Blen.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
And I believe I hear him downstairs getting screened, so I'm going to call him as here.
Okay. For the record, we have our Assistant Town Manager, Finance Director, Mr. Colby, attending remotely.
Great, thank you so much. Could everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, thank you. Okay, so first item on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes for August 10th, 2020. So if I could have a motion on the floor for that, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 10th, 2020 BOS minutes.
All right, thanks, Greg. And may I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further discussion on this, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, that motion carries 5-0-0. Next on the agenda is public comment, and I'm going to defer that because we do have a public meeting that we have to abide by. So I am going to open our public hearing at 6:33 p.m. And this public hearing is to discuss the approval of a grant for a firefighters grant for the COVID-19 supplemental program. If you recall, at our last meeting, Chief Knudsen came in and told us that he procured yet another grant for approximately $19,000 to pay for PPE equipment for our firefighters. So we did receive this grant, and so I'm going to ask if there's any member of the public that would like to make any comment at this point in time before we discuss and vote on this. So if anybody wants to call in, I have my trusty phone, so I'll let that go for a few minutes. And I just want to remind everybody that this grant is coming from the Fed, and there's a 5% matching amount of money for approximately $900, but that money is also going to come from the Gopher grant, so there is absolutely no money that's going to be asked of the taxpayers. This is all going to be state and federally funded, so that's another really good thing. So if there is no one from the public making a comment, I'd ask the board if they have any comments to make with regards to accepting this grant, and if there is none, okay. Could I ask someone to read the draft motion so that we can approve this?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay.
I think cut anybody off. All right. A motion to accept the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program COVID-19 Supplemental AFG in the amount of $18,017.14 from the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Federal Emergency Management, FEMA, and 5% match of $900.86 will come from the GOEFER of GOEFER grant. Fire Chief Knudsen will be the person of contact for the grant. I further authorize Town Manager Mark Pearson to sign any and all paperwork related to the grant. The grant will be used for PPE and related supplies to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus.
Thank you. And may I have a second for that?
I second the motion.
Okay, thanks, John. So if there is no further discussion on the acceptance of this grant, I'm going to call for a vote.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
It's a procedural question.
Yep, I hope I can answer it.
Do we do the motion in the public hearing or outside of the public hearing?
You do it
You
within
can
the
do
public
either?
hearing, and, well, actually, I can close the public hearing and then do the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right about that. That
I
is
just
correct
didn't know.
procedure.
I've
No,
seen
you're
it
right.
done a couple different ways, so.
You're right, and I have to abide by the same procedure that the planning board uses, so thank you for bringing that up, Jay. You'd think with all of these public hearings that I would have this down pat by now, but I don't. All right, so I'm going to close this public hearing at 6:35 p.m., And so if there's no further discussion on this, I'm going to call for a vote to approve this. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, so that motion carries 5-0-0. All right, so the next item on our agenda is I asked Bill and Jen from the Recreation Department to come before the board and also before our viewing public to explain to everybody the great success that they had in administering some of these summer programs for our kids and also for some of our citizens. And I'd like them to come up and showcase what they've done, especially being so creative in this COVID-19 pandemic. I think it's definitely worth having people listen to how creative they've been, and maybe, our school district can take a couple of points from that as well. So if you guys would like to come up to the microphone, that would be great. So thank you very much for coming, first of all.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for having us. It's, as everyone knows, it's been quite a year,
Yeah.
Yes.
so I think one of the things we've tried to do, especially this year, is try to work with other groups within the town. And I think that works. And I think it really started going back to Easter.
Really?
When we couldn't do the Easter egg hunt.
Oh, thank you, Dean.
We got together with the help of the police, fire, highway, and the First Baptist Church, and that was the bunny parade through town. So that's what we've tried to do, and that's something I've always wanted to try to do, get as many groups together working, and let's all pull together the boat in one direction instead of multiple. So that was a good success, and that kind of kicked things off. And then, obviously, we ran into some problems with baseball, softball. We couldn't start on time. But one thing we were able to do once everything started loosening up a little bit, a baseball season did get played.
We had 3 teams.
Yep, so you had 3 teams, so they were able to go with that with some of the older kids. We couldn't really do it with the younger kids because it's tougher for them to socially distance. Softball's actually starting up again,
Great.
so they'll get a fall season in. A couple different things we've had to do there, make sure they can't use the dugout, so they've got to stay outside. We had to, get some pop-up tents so everyone's covered from the sun. So, different things, that we've had. One of the other things we collaborated with is the drive-in movies. There's been 2 of them at the library.
That was a huge success, I heard,
Right.
yes.
They were a lot of fun.
Yes,
So we
yes.
worked with the library. That was Scott's idea down at the library, so we joined together to go ahead and do that, which was nice. It was, we get about 50 carloads of people there. Kind of brings you back to when I was a kid,
Yeah,
when drive-ins were everywhere.
I know, me too, I love those.
Yeah, it used to be the double feature, your kids' movie, and then it would be the parents' movie.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're trying to work on a more affordable way to keep that going into the fall.
Yeah, so if we could do that, different things we're trying to do. It might make sense, instead of renting the projector, maybe we get together, see what it would cost just to buy one, then maybe we could almost try to do it monthly through the summer going on and into the fall.
Yeah, and I think you've reimagined a lot of activities now, which is very creative, and maybe that would be a staple in your programs from now on, regardless of when and if COVID ever goes away. Because
I think so, because
yeah.
that was a big success, especially the
Yes.
drive-in movie.
Yep.
You get people from all different age groups,
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
which is perfect.
excellent, excellent.
And obviously, our staple program that we run every year is the summer recreation program. And that was one, I didn't think that we were going to be able to put that one together.
I am amazed that you guys were as successful as you were. So tell
Yeah,
everybody a little bit about how you
Yep,
did it.
and I think the one
yeah.
person to really highlight in that, besides Jen, would be Shannon Matthews. She was the director for the summer rec program. I was kind of against it going into it, and she was just graduated from UNH, but she put together the whole program of how it could happen and
Sold
succeed.
us all.
And she sold us, and really, in all the councils as well, they were all on board with it, to do it, with everything we had to do. I mean, obviously, it looked a little bit different. We had to hold it at Park. Couldn't have as many kids as we normally have. Usually, we have over 100.
Our first week, I had 19 kids signed up. This is a program that usually has 119.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
And so the first week, I had 19 kids signed up. By the 6th week, I had 48 kids and a waiting list.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then, so we decided to extend the programs.
Yeah.
Because we usually only go 7 weeks, but where we only got 6 weeks, now we're doing Friday Fun Day, so it's just 1 day a week until September 4th.
Yeah.
And that filled up in 3 days.
Yeah, and that was actually a request from the parents.
And I really love the fact that they are confident enough in you all and our town and our protocols to be able to send their children to this program, because it is much needed. These kids really need to have a
Yep.
break, because, you know, even the adults are struggling with some of these things that
Right.
we have to do.
And it was good to actually go out there, you hear the kids laughing and playing again.
Yes, yes.
which is
And
good.
may I ask how many incidences of COVID that you found with all of those kids?
We didn't have
Not
any.
one.
Not one.
Excellent, excellent.
Those
Some-
kids were washing their hands
Yep,
and sanitizing.
I am so
all
proud
day.
of you guys. That is probably the best thing that we could ever showcase for you guys. And I really want to thank you and your counselors for just putting it together and being brave enough to do it.
They're
And to being so successful with it. That's outstanding.
Yeah, and the big thing was too, the parents wanted it to continue because school's starting late,
Yep.
but we're not able to do it because we have kids going back to college.
Yeah, yeah.
So the high school kids that were still around, we said, okay, we'll do it 1 day a week on Friday, so at least giving Fridays back
Yeah, that's
to it.
great.
So we can keep that going for another
That's
3
great.
weeks till school starts up again.
And tell us about the concert series.
The concerts, yeah, that was the big thing. We'll see how that was gonna go, because generally it's out here in the town green.
Yeah,
We moved the concerts out the park this year, which I think that's maybe where we may continue it from here on out. Everybody can really spread out a lot more. Parking's a lot better.
yeah. And you don't have games on Wednesdays, right?
No, we did have a game on
did.
1 or 2, and
Oh.
we had the softball field rented out.
Okay.
So that was full. So one time we had all 3 diamonds going. We had the concert going out there.
There was a
Wow.
lot of people. It was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
we had Kona Ice come out,
Yeah,
and
but it's worked. We're probably averaging well over 100 going
Wow.
out to the concerts, which is really something.
I cannot thank you all enough, and I'm amazed and so proud of you guys for taking on this very difficult project. Does the board have anything to add or to say to these people? Besides 2 thumbs up, I know, really, really great. I have to ask you, have you guys moved into your new digs yet?
today.
Today.
Oh, you did? All right, great. All right, because there's several people eyeballing your old office, so we're going to
let
have to
them
draw lots for that one. But anyway, that's great. I can't emphasize enough how proud we are of you guys doing this, and, you know, keep doing it, and we will support you every step of the way. And if you need anything from us, just let us know. But you guys did an outstanding job, and we thank you very much
And the
for
one
that.
thing this year too, with everything going, we've actually been able to do some rentals out there of the fields.
Yeah, that'll be some great income.
You know, we rented some of the softball field. We already have a football field lined up and
Okay.
and a lacrosse team for the
I've
fall,
got the
so.
pavilion rented to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts on different nights. It's a busy place out there
Yeah.
right now.
Oh, you guys are marketing geniuses.
Well, we try.
Yeah, and you know, and the other thing that I really love too is that you've collaborated with a bunch of different boards, committees, and groups to put all this
Yeah.
together. And I think that would be, you know, my wish for this town is to have more collaboration and less
It
dissension.
makes life, it makes life easier for everyone.
It does. Yeah, that workload is a little bit lighter for everyone when everybody pitches
Pulling the
in.
boat in one direction's a lot
Yeah.
easier than 6 different ones.
You bet, you bet. So, go ahead, Jay.
I just want to say great job to you guys
Yeah.
in the rec commission and Jen. You guys worked hard to bring back some normalcy to the situation and what was going on around with COVID. So I really commend you guys for going way above and beyond and pulling this all together. Great job.
Yeah, yep, keep it up, and if we can help you out with anything, let us know.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right.
Have a good night, and
Thank you.
thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate that. Have a good night. Okay, our next item agenda is an award appreciation certificate. And I believe Cassie Richard is here. And I just want to preface this by saying these are 2 individuals, 2 young ladies in our community that took it upon themselves to make masks when this COVID-19 pandemic first started. And they have made, I believe, over 1,500 masks for various groups of people in and out and around our town. But I think the thing that most impressed me was the fact that these young people are thinking of other people besides themselves, and they want to reach out to other people and do some good. So if I could call Cassie up here just to come up to the microphone and just maybe tell us a little bit about who you are and what you'd like to do, we'd all love to hear you. So come on up to the microphone. Sure. And I don't mean to make you nervous or put you on the spot, but we're really proud of you, and we want everybody on TV to see you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what kind of activities you like. I understand that, I think I have a little bio from you that, do you practice, are you a flautist? Practice the flute? And you like to do friendship bracelets and crafting and things like that. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you'd like to be doing this year.
Can you have the mic?
No, all right. Well, you know what?
So shy.
That's okay. I just want to let you know that you're a very extraordinary young lady, that you would take time to think about others who, are obviously in need. And the fact that you've spent a lot of time doing this for other people is pretty amazing. And are you a sophomore or junior at school? Sophomore, okay, all right. So my granddaughter is graduating as a senior up in Milford, so she's a little bit ahead of you, but I do want to publicly recognize and commend you, because there are so many terrible things going on in the world right now, and the fact that you were kind enough to do something outside of yourself. And Mom, are you a nurse?
No, I did work in the medical field for a while, but
Okay.
I'm early childhood education.
All righty. So I think the town and our board certainly wants to recognize you and say thank you so much. I do have a certificate for you of appreciation, and it's really shiny and pretty. But unfortunately, our town manager is not here to sign it for you as well. So I would like to present this to you. And you can take a look at it, and we'll socially distance it. You can take a look at it, and you can give it back, and we'll make sure it gets signed off and mailed to you. So congratulations. All right, and if you want to just look right, hopefully right, yeah, turn around so that everybody can see you on TV. And we will socially distance you, but, well, all right, and take a picture, yep. All right, let me do this for you. All right, if you want to hold it. And you can take a picture, and yes, that would be great. So congratulations. Thank you again, and thank you for your good work, and keep doing it. And I believe the next person that we are honoring with the same group is Grace. Is it Gracie? Or Grace? Her grandmother is going to come up here and tell us a little bit about her. And she's only 9 years old, so she's a little bit younger than Casey. But if you could tell us a little bit about how she got involved with it, we would love to hear you. To speak right into that mic.
Okay, well, when I saw on Facebook the Making Masks for Heroes group start here in town, didn't know much about it, but I, sent an email to Audrey, and she's saying, I said, I don't live in town, but she goes, oh, absolutely, it's all about community. So I started making surgical hats, the caps for the nurses.
Oh.
Both my daughters are nurses down at Brigham and Women's, so we needed them down there. And Grace saw us making these, and she said, what can I do? And we started having her make masks. So then she decided that she wanted to make masks in her town. They had lunch pickup twice a week. So she would make masks and drop them off. And once she started doing that, a lot more people started coming up to get lunches.
Oh, that's great.
So it was kind of like a good thing to happen there.
Yeah.
And then she wanted to start making masks for up here. And right now, the school district, or the Pollard and Atkinson Academy,
Yeah.
the PTOs are doing masks for the kids. So now she's making masks for the kids up here.
All right, so she's still doing that,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
That's great.
so-
That's great,
Yeah.
that's great. So how did you mothers and grandmothers raise such great kids that they would do something like that? What's your secret?
I think it's just about sense of community. I mean, my family were police, were fire, were teachers, were nurses, and the kids have grown up with that in their lives. And I think,
I hope they
Exposed.
realize how fortunate they are to have families like you and communities like this, and hopefully when they have their own families someday that they will, pass that sense of community down to their children too, because it seems to be a rare commodity in the United States most recently. So we really, really thank you, and I'm going to ask you to come on up and accept this.
I'm going to get her up here so she can get her picture taken with it.
All right, so we'll have her come up at another point in
Yep.
time. All right, you just let me know, and I will make sure we do that,
Perfect.
and we will send this to her as well.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
so
you very
thank you
much
for
for
coming.
recognizing the
Thank you
group.
for coming and sharing your granddaughter with us.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Good night, ladies. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Police Department Communications Phase 3. And I believe if you recall back in April, Mark talked to us a little bit about our microwave tower. And unfortunately, we discovered that it was broken. And not only that, but we do not have any redundancy in the microwave towers. And not only was that bad for Plaistow, but it was also bad for Atkinson because we both share communication towers. So Mark directed one of the consultants that he hired to come back to the board with some pricing to not only fix the broken microwave, but to actually create a redundant situation for us too. So this wonderful consultant must be a Mark clone because he got the original price down from over $90,000 down to the $45-ish thousand that you see on the draft motion. So I'm going to ask the board if they would be so kind as to put a motion on the floor to approve this
I'll
expenditure.
make a motion to approve the expenditure of $44,883 from the contingency fund for the purpose of replacing and repairing the current LMR microwave communication system used in police dispatch and the 2 transmission sites. This upgrade is essential for maintaining public safety and the business continuity for the towns of Plaistow and Atkinson.
Okay, great. All right, so may I have a second on that
Second.
motion? Okay, thank you, Jay. So is there any further discussion on this? Go ahead, Jay.
Just a question on the contingency fund. What, if we withdraw that, what does that leave the contingency fund?
I don't think we've barely touched it, I believe, and I can ask Greg for a definitive answer on that, but I don't think we've used hardly any of it at all this year, so we should still have about 40, 50 grand left. Is that right?
That is correct.
Excellent. Okay, so I guessed
Great,
right.
thank you.
All right, so we're in good shape with that. And again, this was an unanticipated expense because we did not realize that the microwave tower had been damaged and broken. So there was no way that we could have foreseen that and put it in the budget. So that's why we took it out of there.
Yep,
Okay.
just curious on
All
what
right,
was
so
left.
Chief Mullen will be very happy to hear that he received his money for that. So that is great. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the recognition of the Plaistow Lion.
Julian's got his hand
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Julian.
All right, hey, what are the other options other than taking it from the expenditure from the contingency fund?
I don't believe that there's any money in the budget, in the police budget, because that was the first thing that I asked about.
Well, I'd like to ask the
Oh, I'm
expert,
sorry.
Greg Colby, please.
All right. So Greg, would you want to ask Greg that?
Because nobody knows the finances better than Greg in this room.
All right, Greg, was there any other place that it could have been taken from? Can you, I don't know if you, can you hear us? Greg? He looks like he's frozen or fading.
Tough time. Obviously, the contingency.
No.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Hello?
Yep, can you hear us?
I mean, obviously, the bottom line, I can hear you. Can you hear me? You obviously can't hear me.
No, we can hear you.
No, he keeps on cutting out.
Does
Okay. It's cutting out on my end as well. I've got a bad thunderstorm up here right now. I don't know if that has
okay.
anything to do with it or not.
All right.
To my knowledge, there's 2 areas that you could use your money from. First being the contingency, the second would be if we thought there was enough money left over in the budget. But it's one and the same, really, so. And it is only August, so it is hard to tell how much would be left in the budget at this stage of the game. So considering that no money has been spent out of the contingency, basically, that would be my recommendation.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, you all set with that? Okay. All righty, so we did vote on this?
No, we
Yes.
didn't.
We did not, okay, I'm sorry. So if all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, so that motion carries 500, so Chief Mullen will be happy to receive that funding. All right. So next item on the agenda is the Plaistow Lion of the Year. And I think I know, and I know I don't mean to embarrass you, but I think we need to recognize one of our own, and you deserve recognition publicly that the Plaistow Lion of the Year is our very own Jay DeRoche. So I would like to publicly recognize and thank him, because not only does he serve in the community on this board, but he serves in the Lions as well. And I think, what did you do? Didn't you distribute meals over the summer? And you do so much work with the Lions and for the Lions. I think people need to recognize all the contributions you make to our town. And due to the fact that you have a young family and you also work full-time, so God bless you.
I don't
But-
sleep much.
I was just going to say, yes, standing ovation for you.
Thank you. I appreciate the recognition. It's very humbling.
Well, you deserve the recognition, and I love being able to showcase people who do a lot of work in the community, and I think there's a lot of people don't know about all the quiet work that so many people do in town, and so I think whenever we get a chance to recognize that, and whenever I find out about it, I think it's important for people to be recognized. So you're welcome for me embarrassing you, by the way. Yeah, all right.
Should embarrass him some more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, as a Lion myself, I know that Jay DeRoche is probably one of the most active members in the Plaistow Lions. Not that there aren't others. There are a few select people that are constantly doing things for the community. And those that receive the help and whatever in the community know who they are. The rest of us don't.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also, Jay does this every year. He could actually be Lion of the Year every year, because this guy every single year puts out his time. So he's well deserving of it.
Yep, he certainly is. So thank you for contributing to our town, and thank you for being on our board, too.
I just wanted to mention, I'm part of a great group of Lions, and, they all work really hard to do good in the community. So, I owe a lot of that to them, because, they do just as much as I do. But I did want to talk about the Power Pack program.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we kept running when the COVID situation hit. Was we deliver packs. I don't know if you've ever heard of 68 Hours of Hunger. It's a period of time on Friday
Yes.
to Monday when
Yes.
kids may go home, and they might have food sensitivities where they don't get a lot of food at home. So we provide about 20 packs a week, and each pack contains 7 meals. And in most cases, it's stuff that they may have to make themselves, but it's single serving stuff. So we did that throughout. Once school shut down, and kids weren't getting the meals at school that they needed, we continued with that program, and it actually, it wasn't just me. There were way more people that were pulling up and delivering, and the community donated, and it was really amazing. And we kept it going as long as we could throughout the school year and into the beginning of the summer. So we're gearing up to start planning for this year, depending on how we're going to distribute, because we may not be able to get in the school, but we're still going forward with it. So it's a great program, and we help about 20 kids every week throughout the school year. So
Yeah, that's tremendous. And again, we look at the collaboration of different people that come together in our community, and we really are so blessed to be living here with a very generous and kind community that really wants to help people out. So again, on behalf of the board, thank you for continuing to do that work, and hopefully we'll be able to support you on that in the future as well.
Thank you very much.
You are so welcome, thank you. The next item on the agenda is an Election Cares Act funding. And this is not a grant, it's just, I believe, an election funding from the state, which does not require a public hearing. But it allows us to spend up to $17,500 for PPE and any type of extra work that's associated with the elections due to the COVID-19. So it needs to be signed off to be sent out for August 28th. So there is a draft motion for someone to read to designate Greg Colby as the signing authority to complete the paperwork and sign off on it so we can get it out in time so we can actually get that money.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept and expend up to approximately $17,500 under the CARES Election Funding Grant. Defer the motion to designate Greg Colby, Financial Director and Assistant Town Manager, the signing authority for any and all paperwork related to this grant. This is allowable under RSA 21-P:43 for grants for the purpose of emergency management due to COVID-19.
Okay, great. And can I have a second on that, please?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Julian. Okay, so is there any other discussion on receiving this funding? Guys, no? All right, and it's going to be put to good use. I think we've already started to spend some of that for PPE that's up at the Public Works Garage.
Will this cover both the primary and the election?
It should. So if there's no further discussion, John, you had a question, go ahead.
Is this for all the elections? Because we actually got like 3 of them coming up.
Well, I believe that's what Greg just asked, and I believe it covers the two for this year. And I believe if there's any more funding that needs to come in, it probably should be, it may be a separate thing to come in for 2021, but I can certainly ask Greg, is that what the funding is as it ends in December? So if there's any more funding for COVID, it'll come in brand new in next year, correct?
That's correct. This is to
Okay.
cover the September primary and the November general election. So,
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, so did we vote on that? No. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, so Greg, you're the official signing authority on that, so you can get that paperwork out, and we're good to go on that one, too.
excellent. We'll get it done tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is election protocols. And the supervisors of the checklist have asked me to publicly announce that they will be here for 2.5 hours on Wednesday for any citizen that would like to sign up for absentee ballots. We would like to encourage as many people as we possibly can to fill out absentee ballots. If you're an elderly person, if you have any health issues, or if you're simply just concerned about actually coming in person to vote, this is a great opportunity for you to do your civic duty, but you will need to fill out an application. And that application covers both elections, by the way, too. My husband just filled one out, so, and it lets you know that you can, the application is for both elections. So we would very much encourage people, I think it's on our town website, and it's on TV, and it's being advertised everywhere, but for anyone that wishes to come and fill out an absentee ballot, we would definitely encourage you to do so, and I believe it's Wednesday, the 26th, and I can't remember what the time was, and I didn't have my thing with me, but it is on
Website.
It is on the website, so you can just go on the website and find out what time it is. So we are having our election at the Public Works Garage. We had a pretty large meeting a few weeks ago, and we are working out all the details on it right now. We're taking every possible precaution we can to keep everybody safe and healthy. And so for us as selectmen, a couple of housekeeping things that we're going to need to do is Martha Fowler has asked for our presence, the honor of our presence, on Thursday, September 3rd at 6 o'clock at night up here in the Great Hall. At least 2 of us need to be here to verify the voting machines. And I know you've all done it many times before. Jay, you're probably the only one that has not seen that yet, so if there's any possibility you could do this at this time, that would be great.
What time again?
6 o'clock at night, September 3rd. It's Thursday. It's right before the long holiday weekend. And we will calibrate and verify the voting machines, and you'll see how that works. The other thing that I'm going to ask you guys to do is we are going to have to work on shifts to be present at the voting. And I think I'd like to use the ones that we used in March, if you guys are comfortable. And so I think, Greg, you had the 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. shift. John, you did 11 to 4. Are you still good with that one?
Yep.
Okay, Julian, you did 3 to 9. You're still good with that one. So the only one that we don't have to fit in is yours, Jay. So can you let me know approximately when you would be able to be at the polls? I'm going to be there from 10 in the morning.
I thought I told you I'd be there from 1 to
1
the
till
end.
whenever? Okay, I just wanted to verify that. Okay, so that's perfect. 1 to close. All right, and I'll be here at 10 in the morning too, so we'll have overlap. I will be emailing you all to ask what your meal preferences are, because we have to, instead of doing a big giant buffet with pizzas, we also have to be doing individual meals. So as soon as I get the meal choices, I will email you guys with that information. If you could email me back, the supervisor of the checklist will provide meals for us as well. So we're going to ask you all to come in through the side door of the Public Works garage. You're going to be screened. You will need masks. We do have all disposable placemats and pens for people so that we don't have to keep sanitizing every pen that we use. What those people will be allowed to keep it or dispose of it. There was a great binder coat put on. I don't know if anybody saw it, but they've already put the binder coat on the Public Works garage, and it came out beautiful. So I think Dan Garlington was responsible for supervising that, so that came out really great. And so there are signs out, our electric sign is out, so we're getting stuff ready for the election, and I think next Friday we'll be putting tables and chairs in there and that type of a thing too. So everything is proceeding along at a pace pretty well. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about, yeah, go ahead, Julian.
I'm going to clarify, because there are baby people still in our community don't realize the highway garage is not the one by the dump anymore. It's the one by the Methuen construction sign downtown by the railroad tracks.
Right.
And I think we should make sure we have good signage.
Yep.
And even at the Pollard School, because they'll probably go there just
Yes,
automatic
we will
drive.
have that too.
Directing
Yep.
them where they should go if they
Yep.
drive up there by habit.
Yes, and if anybody's not sure, it's where the water tower is. So if you go past the water tower, then you've missed it. And we do have the electronic sign that just got put out there, I think, today. Yeah. So we'll have signs posted everywhere for everybody. And we're anticipating probably about 900 people in the primaries for this particular election. And so if we can get a large portion of those as absentee ballots, that's going to make everybody's lives a lot easier and a lot safer for people as well. So are there any more questions or concerns that you may have on this? Yeah, go ahead.
Did you get correspondence from the moderator, whether that's also going to be for definite the election location for the November election?
Well, we, as a board, are the ones that decide the venue. And I believe at our last meeting, we discussed that we were going to keep it there at this point. And I've spoken to some of the fish and game people who are donating some of the tables to us. And I did ask John if it's possible for us to keep the tables over at the garage for November, so we don't have to lug them back and forth and back and forth. So depending on what his needs are, he said we could do that as well. So, yep, so I think we're in good shape with everything, and everything was planned as thoroughly as we could possibly plan it. But this will be a good kind of, like I said, a dress rehearsal to see how well we did, and if there's anything that we need to fix or do better or add to before the huge election, before we get slammed in November. So, and there'll be other issues too, like the weather and the heat and the cold and all that other stuff. But there will be plenty of parking over at Methuen Construction for our voters. And if anybody is disabled or is having trouble getting in and out of the cars, we will send out our town clerk to have them fill out an absentee ballot application, and she will get that and make sure that it gets put into a dedicated voting machine for the absentee ballots.
Did we get an answer from Bob yet about whether or not we can carry the ballot out?
He's still waiting for the Secretary of State. As far as I know, I think only the town clerk is able to do that, but we still have a couple of weeks before election, so I'm sure he'll get answers for that. And so, you know, we're getting more and more information every day, but I think all the main questions and concerns that people have been answered. Go
I
ahead,
think one of
Jim.
the questions would be, because we usually can't count the absentees until after a certain time, but since there's going to be so many of them.
That's a good
Whether we
point.
have permission to start counting them earlier.
We do. And because this board, I think if you recall, at our last election, we kind of asked about, well, can we start at 8 o'clock instead of 7? And luckily, you guys are smart enough to say, no, let's keep it at 7.
Also about the absentee, there's this different.
Well, so
there's a
let me
time- there's
finish.
an actual time set, yeah.
Okay, so let me finish. So now we are allowed to start counting and opening absentee ballots at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we were allowed an hour after the polls open. So that gives us an extra hour to do that, too. Okay, so that was a good question. All right, anything else that we need to talk about on that? So, oh, yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Just that 2-hour window that this week for the town clerk, I didn't see anything on the website. Can we have someone put out an email blast about that?
The town, no, that's for the supervisors of the checklist. It's not the town
Okay.
clerk. It's
It's not the
supervisors of
town
the
clerk.
checklist. And it should be on it, because I think I looked it up today.
All right.
I
But
was trying to find it, and I could not
could we
find it.
also
You can't
see
find
if
it?
we could get
Yep,
an
yep.
email blast sent out
It was sent out on an email blast sometime last week.
last week?
Can we do it again, Beth, do you think?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, it certainly won't
I didn't
hurt.
see
I was just looking for it. I
Yeah,
didn't.
and one other thing I forgot to tell you guys, just to remind you, because we won't have we're not going to have another board meeting until after elections. Could you make sure you bring your name tags and your lanyard with your face ID on it? And Jay, did you get a picture ID yet from your, yeah, you do have it, great. All right, so bring those, because there will be probably people from the state that will be in here to verify, to make sure that we're doing everything that we properly need to do. So if you guys could do that, that would be great, too. All right, so if there's no more questions on elections, the only other business that I have for you guys, I have two little small things. You had asked me to get the tax card for that property, the New Hampshire Park and Ride, to look at the assessed value. So I was able to get that, and the total assessed value is $373,470. All right, so I don't know if you want to table a decision discussion until next time as to whether you want to pursue possibly purchasing this, or whether, I don't know, what is your pleasure? Do you want to discuss it now, or would you want to
We
table it?
discuss it now, and then we can decide whether or not to vote on it.
Sure, I have no problem with that. Are you guys okay with are you all right with that? Okay, so what are your thoughts?
I was hoping that we would discuss it. I don't have comments one way or the other to it. I'm not deciding one way or the other, but I'd like to hear from some of the other selectmen to see
Okay.
if they had a stronger feeling than I did.
Okay, go ahead, Jay. Do you have opinion?
I like what John said at the last meeting about, you know, we planned to buy some land a long time ago, and we finally put it to use, and I could see this as a possibility of doing that. Now that you've said it's $300,000, I would like to see if there's any way, shape, or form we can come up with any type of funds within our current budget to do that. Otherwise, it looks like we would need to put out some type of warrant article
Yeah,
and have the voters decide.
yeah.
And that's if the land is even available at that point, because we haven't put in for the first refusal.
Right.
So that could go to someone else, and they might just buy it before we can even decide. So I don't know if there's any chance we can scrape together $300,000 within the budget, but I'd like to know if Greg has any opinions on that.
Okay, did you hear that, Greg? You're laughing, so you must have heard it.
You can say no, I
Again,
just was
it's
asking.
August. I mean, 300,000 is a pretty big chunk, that's for sure, but, you know, and I don't want to go out on a limb, but, you know, we also have the trust fund that has, I think, what was it, 125,000, so I guess I would say it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's still too early to tell.
Okay, do you guys have any opinions either way? John, what do you
I think
thought?
we should
Yeah.
pursue it and see what the state can do for us if we, would like to purchase it. If, we may be in a position where they're gonna do something better for us because it's sitting there in our town and we've had to put up with it. So it's a lot of money and, maybe we can make them payments.
Okay, that's an interesting concept. Julian, what are your
I
thoughts?
agree a little bit with John said, see what the state, if we have to pay that full price or not, that would be a consideration.
Right.
However, I don't think it's a good time to be asking the people for $300,000 on the current
Yeah.
economic situation. And I know that we bought that property on top of Pollard Road, but I think back then they were thinking it had a particular purpose at that time. It's a little bit different. We don't have a particular purpose for this, and it's prime land. It's commercial. It could be used for other purposes. It's also a parking lot, because I saw the values. I looked it up the night
Yeah.
after.
Oh, you did, okay.
Part of it says there's a building on it. I'm just thinking maybe the building means the pavement, because they had a value for the building.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was thinking maybe because they put it under the line of building. And you don't know what you're going to find under that. The other thing I noticed that if you look at the map, it's apparently on top of is actually built on
Wetlands.
top of wetland.
Yeah.
So if you try to do something with it later on, does it go back to you're doing something with wetland again because you're repurposing it? There's a lot of questions of what people have found under the pavements of things
Yeah,
after
oh,
the
yeah.
fact.
Yep.
And you don't know what you'll find. It
I
happened at the
know.
highway
I was
garage.
just going to say, we learned at the highway garage the hard way. I know, yeah.
I think the
that's right.
biggest thing is I'm not willing to ask the people for more money in this economic times, which is uncertain.
All right, okay.
My opinion.
No, that's great, and it's an excellent opinion,
Good point.
and I have a point to make, but let me get Greg's opinion next. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing what the other selectmen had to say, and I agree with a lot of what has been said. I don't think we're in the business right now because we don't have a purpose for this land. If we had a purpose and we were looking for land, it would be a lot different. But we don't know if this $300,000 is going to be $300,000 or if it's going to be something smaller than that. So I think we can table this and leave it open and let Greg, as we go along, find out what we have to do to move forward. If we have to put some money forward, because we think we might want to do this, and a reason comes through, fine, it's open. We haven't closed the whole thing. And I agree with Julian that is it's a lot of money. And without a purpose, I can't see us asking taxpayers to go buy this land without a purpose to use the land for. So I think we could still, there is some time, I think, that we could decide whether or not we want to put a small amount of money to just leave the door open and then possibly have some research done to decide whether or not the town really needs this.
Okay, I believe, and Greg, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was a $500 deposit that we needed to give to the state just to put as a placeholder. So if the board decides that they want to do that, invest that kind of money, we possibly could vote on that tonight if you guys are in agreement. But I'm just going to weigh in, and I guess my thinking is sort of more along the lines of you, Greg, and you, Julian. That my thinking is that if the town owns this property, right now New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire owns it, and we get property tax from that. If we own that property, we don't get tax money for that anymore. And so if we do not have a specific purpose for it, to sell it to a developer and to get tax revenue for it, to me, it would not make good financial sense to do that, particularly, as you said, in light of our financial situation with this COVID thing. So I'm kind of leaning towards that, but I would definitely think it would be worthwhile to at least put that $500 deposit down, just as a placeholder, just to see where we go, because we may be the only bidder. Or they may, they may request, that if we are the only bidder, we could ask for, maybe to have them give it to us for $100,000. So there is too much up in the air right now. But if you guys are comfortable with wanting to put that placeholder in there, I would have no objections to asking for a motion for that, unless you want to table that motion as well. What do you think?
I think it's an interesting concept you have. We could buy the land if we got a really good deal on it, and then we could still put it up for sale afterwards.
Yeah, we could, but we don't know, there's so
But
much we don't know.
But we're gonna
Yeah.
own another piece of land along with all the other land that we own,
Yeah,
and then it's actually usable land, as far as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And we tie that up by not allowing someone else to possibly, we don't know who the other bidders are gonna be yet.
right.
And we don't know what could end up there or what could not end up there. So there's a lot, there's a lot of
It
it in
is,
here.
it is, so.
Not a decision I would make to spend it, but to put $500 down just to keep the option open,
Are
I
you-
may go along with that.
You would go, okay, and John, I'm guessing you would too. So are you guys comfortable with having a motion on the floor to put forth that $500, or do you want to table it?
One question.
Yeah.
Greg, is there any additional fees that we have to pay besides the $500?
Yes. I think there's
thought there
1,200.
was
If I
some-
remember correctly, through the paperwork, it talked about the 500, then the additional, the state wants to sell it at fair market value, so there is a independent appraisal that would be done as well, which the $500, I believe, counts towards the whole process.
I think, Greg, there was a mention of $1,100 or $1,200 additional fee.
1,100.
Yeah.
Right. To
Was
get
it?
Up to 1,100 or
Yeah,
something along
okay.
those lines.
So now we're at $1,600.
All right, so, okay,
Now
so,
to get a number that we already know what it is, by the way, pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Right.
So
don't know.
what are your thoughts, gentlemen? Do you want to vote, or do you want to table it and think about it some more? That's our first decision. You want to table the vote?
Can we table it?
Sure.
Do we
I have no
time?
problem with that. We have plenty, I think we do have
Do
time.
we have
Have
time?
time.
Okay, good.
And once it gets up to
all right?
1,600, now it's a whole nother story.
Are you guys okay with tabling it and thinking about it a little bit more? Because there's too many variables right now. You're right. And if they're looking at selling it for fair market value, more than likely, we will be needing a warrant article for the additional money, and we won't know that until March of next year, and I don't know if that's too late.
Now, my question is, if we have to put $500 down plus whatever, what does someone else have to do?
Same thing, I would guess.
What the, they sending this out to everybody? Is it going out to a realtor? How's this working? This is kind of
Do you have any idea on that, Greg?
I don't, that's all
All
good
right.
questions, and I haven't had success in, getting through to the state, but I will continue to try to get as much information as I can. As soon
Okay.
as possible.
Because
All right,
it
so-
almost sounds like it's saying we want to buy it. And that's not a fact here.
Right,
So Why
right.
would we spend money to say we want to buy it, and then it maybe they don't put it on the market because we say we're going to buy it? So that question comes up in my mind. Why are we
All
doing
right.
it this way to buy a property
Well,
when
I
we
think-
don't even know?
I think, Julian, that one of the reasons, as John was bringing up, is that we didn't initially think that $300,000 was the actual amount. It could have been something less. But now, from what I'm hearing from Greg, if the state really wants to go with fair market value, then that really is the price. So we don't have to wait for that. We have to decide,
It could
do
be
we
that or
put
more.
$500, and do we have a plan to spend $300,000 for some purpose that's going to benefit the town? So, yeah, let's,
Yeah.
All
I
right.
did
Let's
see that
sleep on
tax
it.
card. If anything, it'll go up, not down.
yeah, let's.
Right, oh, yeah,
That's how I
yeah.
was looking at that tax card,
Yeah.
and I noticed that we also own a piece of property kind of across the street by that river, little river there.
Yeah.
And it looks kind of weird, like that could be a little park, but it's kind of looks like it was landlocked or something. So
Yeah.
I didn't even know we had a piece of property
Well,
there.
I think that would be a subject for another board discussion, is that we do have a bunch of town property, and in the past, we did use the auctioneer, St. Jean's, I believe, to auction off a bunch of property, and I think we have just too much on our plates right now. I think we should try and finish off some of our project work first, and then maybe revisit that first part of next year, and see what you guys want to do with that. Go ahead, Jay.
And I just wanted to clarify, like, I was mentioning the warrant article as that was the
Yeah.
other way to get the money. But,
Yes.
I do agree with you guys that asking for $300,000 from the taxpayers, we tried to do it a few years ago with Terra Farms. We tried to buy that from the town. I don't know how long ago that was, but
Yeah.
that was voted down. That's a
Yeah.
lot to ask.
Yeah,
So
it is.
I was just stating that that's probably our option if there's nothing in the budget. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's not 300 grand extra floating around in the budget.
We talked a lot in the past, that we didn't want to become landlords and property owners as far as buying
Right,
buildings.
that's
We
right.
probably don't want to become landlords of more pieces of land that we don't have a purpose for.
Right, right.
It-
All right, so I guess the decision is to table this, and hopefully Greg will get a little bit more information, and then we will revisit this at a future board meeting. One more other piece of old business is we've approved the 9/11 ceremony at this point in time. I will have to double check with both chiefs to make sure we're still on board with that in case there's a resurgence of the COVID-19. But I would love to ask for a volunteer to speak at 9/11. And whoever the selectman is to speak at that, another selectman would be asked to speak at Veterans Day. So if any of you has,
I'd like to do September 11th only because I didn't get a chance to read my.
I know, and you did such a good job with that. I read it, and I got all the credit for your work, by the way. So, but there were a number of people that were very impressed with your speech, so I hope you still have it. So if you're good with that.
I usually do the 9/11, but
Yeah, do you want to do the Veterans Day since you are a vet? and
Actually,
that's-
not the 9/11, but the Veterans.
Yeah, so if you're willing to do that, and John, you're welcome to speak, and so are you, Jay, but I know, you may be reluctant to do, I mean, I don't really want to do it either, to tell you the truth.
I do enjoy.
And you do a good job at it, so let's not mess with perfection.
I
Let's
enjoy
just keep
having
it the
this,
way it is.
I will yield my time to,
Exactly.
Come and speak.
Exactly. All right, so if we're good with that, I guess what I'm going to do is ask Greg if you are ready to just give us a very brief overview on how all of our town projects are progressing. Thank you so much for doing this.
A brief overview with all the projects. The only way I can be brief is to say they're all progressing. But,
Excellent.
I mean, I can spend, 30 seconds and go through. If you have any specific questions, I can try and answer. Pollard Road culvert is coming quickly to a close. The paving was supposed to start today, and the road will be open when it's done. All that will be left is the loom, seeding, cleanup, and demobilization. The state came out for a third inspection, so that is pretty much, we're pretty much wrapped up.
Excellent.
The park, ball fields, drainage, and also the public safety complex roadway extension. There were pre-proposal meetings that were held. There were 7 contractors for one project, 4 for the other.
Wow,
Proposals are due on that by Thursday, August 27th. As someone had mentioned earlier, the courthouse, the move started today. IT is coming in tomorrow, so hopefully we will be good to go come Wednesday, with both recreation and the inspection department being over at 14 Elm Street. The water tank construction is going well. I believe I was in on a construction meeting last week that they're bringing in some significant pieces of the project this week. But then also the line expansion has been awarded to a contractor, and they've done pre-construction meetings on that. So that is going to start ramping up in earnest as well. If anybody else, if there's nothing else
Salt
I
shed,
haven't talked about.
Oh, yeah, the salt shed.
salt shed coming.
Yep, the salt shed's coming well, the steel, they've been erecting the steel on that, so again, that is, and as, mentioned earlier, the binder coat has been put down between the salt shed and the highway garage, so it looks a whole lot different over there, and there's a lot of steel that's been put in place, so that's coming along very well.
All right, so things are moving apace, and despite all this crazy stuff going on in the rest of the world, Plaistow is in good shape.
I would like to think so, yes.
Yes, I think it is too. Yeah, I mentioned to Greg, I did a reconnaissance mission on Sunday with all of these project sites, and to my completely untrained eye, they looked great. So I think everything is going well, and hopefully these projects will be winding down for the fall and early winter so that we can kind of hunker down for budget and warrant season. Thank you so much, Greg. Was there anything else that you wanted to let us know about or tell us?
No, I mean,
No, you're
and like I
good.
said, mentioned budget season, the requests have gone out to department heads as well, so that we will start, I've already received a couple of those requests back, so we'll be compiling and fine tuning, and with the idea of presenting a budget to the board end of September or by October 1st at the very latest.
Great. Okay, very good, very good. Thank you so much. All right, so if there's no other stuff, I'd like to do selectmen's reports if you have a chance to do that. Jay, can I start with you and I'll work around?
Yeah, I don't have anything.
No? Okay, go ahead, Greg.
So I attended the planning board. It was a very interesting, a lot of work was done. It was 4 major projects that were discussed and approved with their waivers. I have been contacted by some townspeople, and I just wanted to bring this out, that I did listen to what this person had to say. They were concerned coming into the town hall and not seeing the town clerk wearing a mask. So I communicated to him all the work that had been done to try to keep both the town employees and the townspeople safe, but that I would at least bring this up. And I understand that Francine has talked to, who did you talk to?
Well, I talked to the person as well, the citizen. I emailed back and forth with him, and also Denise Horrocks, also our health officer, also gave him much more detail about the filtration systems and, the protocols that we're getting from the state and from CDC.
I mean, it could be that the town clerk is very, very safe in that environment with those barriers. Most of us don't know. It's more of a perception. Coming in or being required to get screened and wear a mask, and then you come in and you see some town employees not wearing masks. I get it. I totally understand the reaction that he may have had from that. There is a group that is coming up with a petition, a formal petition, to declare the old Parkman Clinic building as a historic site.
Could you tell us where that is, where it's located? Do you have, can you?
It's like 4 Main Street. It's
Okay.
the big one that used to have the big TV screen in front of it.
Okay,
big white
yes, okay,
building.
yes, I do know
Mortgage
that, okay.
specialist building.
Yeah, that used to
Okay.
be a meeting hall in the town.
Really?
It's the second
Really?
meeting hall that
Wow.
the town used. And I read the whole petition. It was really well-written. And I'm very happy because the person that was writing it was a little bit intimidated by proposing this, but he's going to be attending the zoning board meeting on Thursday.
This Thursday,
Which is
okay.
exactly where that should go.
Right.
Initially.
Right.
So, and then I just have one little item that I just don't want us to forget. So if you could think about putting it on the agenda for a later
Sure.
discussion.
Yeah,
Jay and I were both discussed at the groundbreaking for the water tank, that it would be kind of nice to think about doing some type of appreciation for the 3 selectmen that bought that land and got that process underway.
Yep.
So obviously including Mr. Majors. So I did have further discussion with the town manager about that, and he related to me that there'll very likely be a bronze plaque that will
Good,
go onto
good.
the
All right.
tower, and that the Board of Selectmen would have the ability to be able to determine the things that we would want to put on that plaque. So the idea here would be to be recognizing those 3 selectmen that initiated the process and bought the land, and then down below will be the town manager and the current Board of
yeah.
Selectmen for that.
Could we put that on the action item list, just a bronze plaque, so that we don't forget it, so it'll be staring us in the face all the time? All right, that's a good idea. All right.
Good.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you're all set. Okay, Julian? What you got?
Yeah, the biggest thing, well, as far as the water tank goes, I did go up there after the last meeting. I did take some pictures and things, how
I
they were
did
putting
too,
it
yeah.
together.
Yeah,
So I have those if somebody wants them.
yeah, the skeleton's up already. It's
Yeah.
very cool.
Send them
But it
over
was
to
still the
me.
bottom part when they were building the forms.
All right, send them to Jay so he can put
Send
them
them
on
to
his
me.
website, on the
Okay.
website, yeah, yep.
All right,
And the best part about that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they make the forms right there, so they don't have to transport anything, and they use local labor and materials, and it's really cool. I watched them do it in Atkinson.
So that's what I took pictures of, the
Yeah.
forms when they were still, and it was only the concrete
Yeah.
in the bottom and
Yep,
the angle iron and all that was down.
yep,
So it was interesting seeing how they were doing that.
okay,
they explained it before the project happened, but it was different actually seeing it.
Exactly,
All right.
exactly.
All right, the biggest thing was I attended the first budget meeting,
Yes,
and there was a lot of things that came up out of that. But anyway, they did select the new vice chair, which is Max Dobson, vice chair Sam Cafiso,
Yep.
which is the same as last year.
Yep.
I thought they did a
Yep,
very good job.
they did.
Very responsible, get some work done. They did bring up a problem thing I was not fully aware of, that they had, last year, didn't have a minute taker, and there are actually minutes that hadn't even been done from last year yet,
Yep.
which is actually a legal requirement, and it has to be fixed.
Yes.
We need
Yep.
to have those minutes done, because it's required by law. And especially a budget committee meeting, because it's numbers. It needs to be done.
And
First meeting, we still did not have a note taker. No one was doing it, no one was doing minutes. Max Dobson tried, and they were actually talking about possibly not conducting the meeting. Most of us agreed, go ahead, because we weren't going to make any big decisions anyway at that point. It should have been brief.
Yeah.
But they really requested that they have an administrative assistant / note taker like they used to have in the past. Because without that, the board member, the chair, has to approach everybody to get answers. Usually the administrative assistant, who was an employee of the town, also was able to get the answers and find out what needed to be found out without having to have an outside person to do it. So the minute taker is only going to take minutes. So it kind of puts a couple little obstacles in the way of getting information.
I believe, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Lori Sadowitz has reached out and created a number of job applications out to people for the note taker, because the planning board needs one also. So I believe they're in process of reviewing those applications.
I don't want to put the town manager on the spot.
No,
Or
no.
the acting town manager, because it was out of the control of the acting town manager, because a person
Right.
was hired and then backed out.
At the last second, I know.
It's not anybody's
That's correct.
fault at town hall.
We have an offer, I believe, and something out right now for another person to do both committee / board. So I
Okay.
think we are all set at this point. So that's the last that I knew.
Okay, thank you.
But the request of the budget committee is not just to have merely a minute taker, but someone that can act upon some questions to get answers for the committee itself.
What I would suggest you do, and if
Yeah.
the board agrees, is when you go back to your budget committee, they need to outline exactly what role and responsibility they want that administrative person to have and what they expect them to do, so that everybody's clear on it, and then we can properly make sure that this person is paid for that work and knows very clearly what their responsibilities are, because otherwise,
Well, I think during the meeting, they were kind of specific. They just wanted someone that did what the previous person that they used to have did. So that was,
well, I think it should be clarified too. I think that'd be important. So go ahead, yeah.
interrupting.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Julian, what kind of question, I didn't watch the meeting yet,
Yeah.
but what kind of questions did they ask? Like, are they looking for numbers to get, if they had a question about numbers, looking for an answer for numbers that night kind of thing?
No, usually what happens when they take the minutes, if it was an administrative assistant kind of deal, that not only did they take the minutes, but when there were questions, they would direct the questions to the right people within town hall to try to implement the request.
Okay, I believe last year, and
Doesn't it go
Jay,
through
you
the
were on the
chair?
board last year,
Yep.
but I believe what the process was is that they would send the questions to the chair,
That is correct.
and the chair would send it to the town manager, so that, you don't need an administrative assistant for that. But they may need an administrative assistant to compile the booklets that the budget committee has, and to put all the notes and the meeting
I'm
minutes
saying,
together.
so would this board support the chair making a request and support the action of getting that help that they're going to request? I think it comes down to that.
Go ahead, Greg.
So I have a couple of questions on this. One, who's responsible for this? We've run into this a number of times. And when individual boards have brought people on board, all kinds of things happen. And I'm very concerned about that, because we have a situation like we did last year, where we had almost the entire year, and we had no minute taker, and it just kept going on and on and on. And everyone was pointing fingers to who was responsible for that. So I would like to understand who is responsible for that?
Well, my
Is it the town, let me finish, is it the town manager, or is it the Board of Selectmen? If it's the Board of the Selectmen, we're responsible making sure that our major boards and committees have minute takers, then we need to discuss that and take on that responsibility and put something in place that we're not worrying about, a person quitting and then going months before we get somebody to take the place again.
Well, I don't.
Well, I'm going to defer to Greg on that, because my guess would be that the town manager is ultimately responsible if it is an employee, because the employees report directly to him. However, there was discussion about a transcription service, which is an outside contractor as well. So I guess I'm not really sure myself. Can you give us a little bit of guidance on that?
I'm hearing two separate things. We've got a minute taker that is hired to do the minutes. Also, that is my understanding that may go back and transcribe all of the old minutes. But Mr. Kishka is also referring to an administrative assistant person, which would need to be an employee of the town. So does the budget committee want us to hire a person to be this, be assigned those tasks? The current staff that we have with one-person departments and the like are, I'm not going to say overworked, but everybody is very busy, given all the projects that are ongoing in town. There's not a lot of people with free time that can fill that role, so that means we would need to hire somebody. So I guess would the Board of Selectmen, support the hiring of an administrative assistant for the Budget Committee would be the question.
Okay.
And then if that's the case, we'll advertise for it, and see what we can find for a part-time person.
All right. I think before I would support that, I need a little bit more information on what exactly they're looking
I
for
think in the
personally.
past,
Yeah.
I believe it was Dee Voss.
Yeah, Dee
They were
was
they
our
were
note
happy with
taker.
her.
Yeah.
Whether or not she could even do that today, I don't know. But
No.
it was
She could
more
not
convenient
do-
because
given
she
the
had the
level of
connections
projects
within town
again.
hall. Yeah,
She couldn't do that.
well,
No, she's on several of these town projects right now, and she's overwhelmed herself.
And the ZBA.
Yeah, and so I think she backed away from several boards and committees because she just doesn't have the time to do that. But if you want to go back to the Budget
think the
Committee and
next-
ask them, what specifically are you looking for, then we can make that decision,
I think
right?
it would be the chair of the
I'm
budget
Jay.
committee to negotiate that with the town manager possibly, because we can't do hiring and firing. That's not the board of.
No, but Greg just said if the board supported that, that would be added to the budget. So Greg
yeah.
just said that, so they would need our support.
A proposed solution, I would like to see what it could
Yeah,
be.
so go back to the Budget Committee and see what they're looking for first. Go ahead, Jay.
Greg, just to clarify, so if we hire a minute taker, they're not an employee of the town?
Well, they would be.
No, the
yeah.
minute takers that we have not employed, but that we have hired for the position have been subcontract people that are 1099. They're not
Right.
employees.
Okay. And my next thing is to Julian's point, I think exactly what they're looking for is someone to take minutes, but just to print everything off and put their folders together.
Right,
And
that's my understanding.
I don't know if we can add that to the subcontractor's role for the minute taker that you're potentially looking at now.
Well, again, to Ms. Hart's, point, I think we need specifics from the budget committee chair and maybe vice chair to figure out exactly what they want, and then we make a decision from there. And we can reach out to the minute taker and find out what their availability is to take on any additional tasks that, if that fits.
Because if it's a case of being just simply putting folders together and assembling documents and Xeroxing them, that would be maybe a fairly easy fix. It may take up an extra hour of that person's time. But if they're looking for more involved stuff, then we actually do need to put some of that into the budget.
I think one of the immediate things even is we need someone to transcribe past minutes and get
Yep.
them on, published properly so that we're in compliance with the law.
Yep.
So that's kind of an immediate thing. Something has to be done about that, whether it's someone can do it off an old video or something. But
Yep.
we do need those minutes. We can't
Yes,
just ignore
absolutely,
that.
yeah, because we're in statutory violation. I understand that.
So I would like the town manager to hire or whatever, implement something that will fulfill that requirement, so it's at least the past minutes are complete, as well as future meetings.
Right. And Greg, I think it's my understanding that if you do make an offer and this person accepts within the next few weeks, it's my understanding that the Budget Committee is not going to meet again until they actually have a budget to work with. So that gives the person a month to catch up with all of those other meeting minutes. So I think it can all work out. And I guess the most pressing one actually is the Planning Board, because they meet twice a month. So we need that fairly immediately. But I think it looks like it's in process, and it can work out. So I'm very hopeful about that.
Yeah, I think there were other questions, but I think some of them got fulfilled. They wanted to see what we get every month as far as what we get as far as the financials, which you forwarded.
Yes,
forwarded to
yes.
Matt Dobson, and
Yeah.
she forwarded to her board members. They would like to see what we're getting, so they can kind of see where the budget is flowing.
Right,
As-
right.
as
And I
information.
believe,
That's taken care of.
I believe, I just asked Greg to add the board chair, the budget chair onto our list, and then she can disseminate that information to her committee members. Okay.
The other,
What
this
else?
is kind of a
Yeah.
big one. They came to the realization, or it came up during the meeting, that there were actually an even number of voters, 9 elected plus selectmen.
Yeah.
And I guess for an RSA, it's supposed to be odd. So somehow when they changed the number of elected positions last time, somehow that got messed up, I guess, maybe, because we used to have a different number of board members.
no,
And then it went to
I think it was-
9 and 1.
Yeah.
And then what they're asking is after this coming year to put a warrant article in to change it down to 8, so that we'll never be an even vote, including the selectmen, which would be the
Yep.
odd vote.
Yep,
So
yep.
that's a request that they're making.
Yep, and
that we put that as a warrant article.
Yeah, and there's no problem with that.
And that
Yeah.
it's legal to do so, because
Yes.
the question of legality was in question.
Yeah,
But
it-
that
but
would
it-
have to go to warrant article.
it
I believe,
does,
And the
yep.
number has to be proper, too, so.
Yes.
And things like that happen.
Yep.
People never considered it, and then you're looking at it after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
maybe years later, and you say, gee, this is not, something ain't right. It says, really, we should have an odd number of voting members. not
Right.
an even.
I guess the selectmen's rep made it even, so that was the trouble. Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
And we
so
can easily
that-
put that in as a warrant article.
Put that on our action
Yep,
item list.
yep.
The only comment I was going to add, Julian, was the fact that last year they were down a number of members, so we didn't have 9 and plus 1.
Yeah, but that was,
So it was like 7 plus 1 or something like that, but it never ever, we never ever had a.
that just kind of happened by circumstance.
Yeah, yes.
That's probably why they're not asking it to go up by 1, they're asking for it to go down by 1.
Okay.
Because they know that there's been an unavailability to keep members. And a lot of it's because of time and things, so the remote meetings may change things a little bit, cross your
Yeah,
fingers.
yeah. No, that's not a problem at all. We can
Control what the
easily do
public's
that.
willing to do.
Yep, that's not a
But,
problem.
that has in the last couple of years been an issue where
Mm-hmm.
people didn't remain for the whole year, or they had family problems, or they found out the position wasn't what they thought it was, or whatever the reason is.
Yep, we can
Quite a few
definitely
members.
fix that problem. Yep,
So-
absolutely. And anything else?
They also brought up the issue, or the suggestion, they would like to have a rep assigned within their budget committee, assigned to a department, in order just to kind of see how things are going throughout the year, so it's not a last-minute thing. They can gather information throughout the time, just as a one contact point, rather than having anybody just mass email or ask questions. I saw how they said, I asked for an example, give me a good town that does this effectively, and they gave me Atkinson. I've talked to a long-term budget committee member. I spoke to him yesterday, matter of fact, for quite a long time. And I try to understand how they do this. And basically, basically their budget committee actually meets monthly all year round. They don't wait till budget season. They don't kind of wait at the last minute and all of a sudden, boom, let's figure out the budget. They kind of see what's going on along the way. And then when they get budget season actually comes up, they're not scurrying to get information. They're kind of already prepared, so it runs very smooth. They know what they're looking for. They don't have to ask as many questions because the representative already has a lot of those answers, because they kind of see how things are going along the whole process. And it does not impair or make more work for the employees, because that's not the objective. It's just to kind of stay in the loop, to be able to contact them, to kind of get a status every now and then, too. that they can report back to their committee of what's going on in certain departments. You know, is something going to increase? Has something been short? Are they going to need new equipment? It's looking like they might be needing new equipment. So people can start preparing and seeing what was going on within the departments. And it works very well in that town. Yes, they have a town administrator instead of a town manager, but I also spoke about the legal requirements of that. There's no difference whether it's a town manager or administrator. By law, elected official can request information from town employees. But yes, you need to have it so it's one person, so it doesn't become a deluge of questions on a particular employee, which then it would be a big burden upon a town employee. We don't want that either. So, but they're asking to be able to, I guess they're looking at some guidance or support to be able to do that. So.
Do you have any comments on that,
I
gentlemen?
also got a good comment from the person from Acton. They also have a policy that they don't use the same person every year for a particular department, so they don't
They
get
switch
comfy
them
with
around.
that person in that department. So that they kind of like, they don't want to be too familiar with the person they're working with because they want to get objective information.
Go ahead, Greg.
The budget comes from the town manager and then comes from the select board.
Well, I think that's because we set that.
But let him
We set
finish,
those
let him
rules.
finish, please.
So that's where the budget comes from. I mean, if they want to meet with the individual departments are not going to discuss budget with them. They'll discuss the budget with the town finance director and with the town manager. That's where they're going to discuss it. So I think that's a little bit different maybe than what Atkinson might be going through. And then the other concern I have with that is that some people on the budget committee will have varying success in requesting financial information from these departments. And so I'll leave it at that. So it hasn't kind of worked out in the past where basically we just allowed anybody in the budget committee to go to the individual departments and start asking questions.
Well, I think it's up to your budget chair to monitor things, to make sure that things are smooth, and the chair would have the authority to say, no, you're not doing it anymore, someone else will do it or whatever. Because there has to be someone that monitors what's happening so that there are no problems.
Yeah, the
Okay, go ahead.
request has already gone out by the town manager to say, no, I'll take all questions from the budget chair. So the town manager has already communicated to the budget chair that he wants questions to come from one source, from her. So if anybody in the budget committee has a question, they can go to the chair, say, I want to find this out, and then she can go to the town manager, and the town manager can go up and get the information.
Go ahead, Jay.
So I think it was the first or second year I was on the budget committee, I had questions about the library. So I set up a meeting with CAB and we went through the budget. So I don't see why, if you're setting up a meeting, but you go through the chair to set that meeting up and go through, town officials to get that through the town manager, I don't see why we can't accommodate that.
That's exactly what they're asking for.
I think assigning someone to every department, I don't know. I just think the chair might need to, you're asking for information, so the person needs to be able to not overstep their bounds, kind of thing. I think that's, they're asking for information and that's it. So every member has the right to do that right now. So
Exactly.
I would just, my suggestion would be if people want to do that, then they, work it out with the town manager and the department heads.
Well, I think they're asking is, they're just trying to formalize it, say, this is going to be the point person for this department, and all questions will go through that person. And that's kind of the way it works in Atkinson. And in other towns, they're just one example. And it's just a matter of formalizing that you only have to, the town employee would only have to deal with one person, one contact. The chair would still monitor what's going on to make sure that nothing goes out of control, because we know it can happen. And they're just asking if the chair is actually asking whether we will permit her to do that.
Well, John, do you have any comments about this?
No, I'm just listening, thinking, it seems kind of funny that all of a sudden these problems come up and the budget committee's been around a long time. And all of a sudden there's major problems.
Well, let me jump in as the last person. When I was a chair and Bob Hamilton was my vice chair, he and I actually went to Atkinson to participate or to observe some of those meetings. And Sam Cafiso made a spot-on point. What he said was they have a different form of town government than we do.
Right.
We are an SB2 town with a town manager, and it's my understanding that the department heads report to the budget committee basically for expenditures, because the town administrator does not sign off on that. That's very different from our form of government. So I am kind of moving towards your agreement here that the chair should go through the town manager and have the questions asked. And if you want to assign a person to say, okay, you're the point person to gather questions for information, it should be a very specific chain of command, because the budget committee does not have statutory authority to tell department heads where to spend their money or when to spend it or how much. They have statutory authority to allow appropriations of a certain amount of money, and that is what their statutory responsibility is. And as Jay pointed out, any one of those budget committee members can ask any department head at any time to come before their board to answer questions, and they can do it 10 times to Sunday. The other issue, too, is that budget committee meets monthly in Atkinson, and our committee really only meets like maybe 3 months at the end of the year and the first 3 months at the beginning of the year. So that's another issue that would have to be resolved. But I think the budget committee can do what they need to do within the confines of what their committee is doing anyway. Call the department heads in, and if you have to call them in 5 times to get questions answered, that's not an issue. That's perfectly within their purview to do that. And I don't see the need for a point person per se, because you're not meeting during the year all the time. So I'm kind of moving in the direction of you two guys there, because what they want to accomplish can be done within their current confines. They can do it right now with what they're using right now. They don't have to have a point person, in my opinion, unless they want to. So anyway, anything else? Oh, I know one more thing that they wanted to do, all right? Do you want to finish? Yeah, we should
Yeah,
finish
finish
this.
what
Go
you were
ahead,
gonna say. Go
finish
ahead.
it. All right. So the other thing I think they wanted to do, and we'll have to ask Greg for this, is I know they were looking for, when you give the board our budgets, you don't have, like, maybe sometimes you don't have the explanations as to what the expenditures are on the line items. And in the past, on those 11 by 17 sheets, you know how we used to have the last 3 years' budgets, and then we have our current and the actual and the proposed. The note column, there's an extreme right-hand column where, this line item said, okay, this is the money that we use for, copy rentals and postage and this and that. I think they're looking for like a detailed explanation of the line items, if you could possibly do that when they have their budgets prepared. Do you know what I'm talking about?
More than what's already
No,
included in
I
that
think,
column?
no. I think what you did in the past was perfect, but I think there was a point in time where that got cut off of our budgets, and we didn't see those. On the printouts? No? All right, then maybe it's my fault or my mistake, yeah, all right.
No, those printouts are provided with all of that description in the
Okay.
right-hand column.
Okay.
Once we have it finalized, in order to, keep it smaller, they may have been cut off, but
Yep.
through the entire process, that has always remained.
Okay, so we'll just double check and make sure, and if we have to drop off a prior year to fit that into that spreadsheet, we can do that, right? Okay, so I think that was all that they had requested, from what I can understand. And do you have any more meetings that you want to talk about before I ask John for his report?
No.
No, excellent, thank you. All right, big guy, tell us what you were doing up north.
Well,
X-rated.
actually, I did like some of the, like you, I drove around to all the projects in town, and everything seems to be going very well.
Yep.
And I spent the rest of the month just surviving COVID-19, so here we are.
Well, we're glad to have you back nice and healthy. So what did I do? I did a couple of things. I did a meeting for the elections. I virtually attended the planning board meeting.
Attended the Historic Society.
The Historical Society, and when we start easing up on some of our projects, we had a good discussion about there's a lot of records that are being kept there. Some of them are tax records that need to be kept in perpetuity and things like that, and I was hoping that we could arrange to have our person that is scanning the records to maybe go down there and take a look at stuff and just move it from there to the Public Works garage, because it's flammable, it's an old building, and those records could be destroyed. At least we have a consistent environment at the Public Works garage, so that's a project that we're going to be looking forward to be doing. And that's pretty much it, I think. So, and we are going to be meeting with Greg on Thursday to just preempt what we're looking for budgeting and warrants for next year, so we'll be doing that. And we should be, as a board, getting our budget report sometime in October. And so hopefully we'll be able to hand off those budgets to the Budget Committee in November, but they can certainly see what we're looking at fresh off, even though it won't be what we're going to be giving them eventually. At least they can have a sneak peek of what they're going to be looking at in November. So if nobody else has any other questions or any other business that they want to take care of, don't forget we have a water workshop next Monday on the 31st, and we may need to sign off on some more ordinances, but I'm not sure. But otherwise,
6 o'clock or 6:30?
it's 6:30. Yep, and I'll get a hold of Gene Forbes and formalize everything with that too. So if there's no more further business for this board to conduct, Greg, are you all set with everything too?
I am all set. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. So I am going to adjourn this meeting at 8:02 PM. Go ahead.
One question for the town manager, acting town manager. I would like to go to the highway garage tomorrow. Just want to check something out really fast. I don't want to
Okay.
give away cat out of the bag what I'm thinking of right this point, but I just wanted to look at the walls and things in that room.
The interior?
Collection, yeah.
Okay. I think I know what you want to do,
All right.
but I'm not going to
I
say
mean-
either.
Yeah. Give me a call if you want, and I can meet you over there.
Okay, thank you. Are you going to be here at
Yep, you're
Town Hall
welcome.
tomorrow?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's
All
good for
right.
me.
All right. So meeting is adjourned at 8:03 PM then. All right. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next week. All right. And